Morning. Day 72. Even though they may say it's otherwise with canceled episodes. Today is day 72. Racist? Is it racist? I don't know. Linda, good morning. Good morning, Linda. McDonald. We've got Branda Grant. What was I going to say? Linda or Branda McDonald. Okay. Need more coffee. Julia on the rock. Official timekeeper. I don't know. Can you keep time today? I don't know. Glow Watcher. Peter Biker. Christine W. Good morning. Running late. Sorry, I had to delay there. I was on a phone call. Salty Air. Good morning. Seriously canceled. I don't know. Maybe they don't like African. What is it? African Canadian Nova Scotians. Maybe the plan from the war room kind of blew up. Maybe who knows what the scheduling conflict is. I don't know. But could be construed as racist, kind of just pushing them off to the back. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Chiang, good morning. We are a force. We are collectively a force, and I'm going to call upon you a little later. Invasion 1. Good morning. Still getting paid. Don't know if I could do 17,000 things at once. I definitely like to keep track of whatever we're at today. Somewhere in there, tweet line I know from a while back. Just you can add a little bit more. Everybody's over 1 million now. So McDonald's in the lead with his legacy. That's what they're all leaving behind. Should drink more coffee. Wondering what the pace will be. Slice cube. Top of the morning. Just don't call you lucky. Okay. Late for dinner. Maybe it'll be a new saying now. Just don't call me lucky. Peace and C. Yes. Well, the number one oath, right, for the RCMP to the Queen, her private paramilitary organization. Not to the citizens of Canada. Okay, now I wanted to start with good morning to you all. I wanted to start with a little video. Okay, there we go. Grady Judd. Talked about him before. Many of you are familiar with him. And just have it's a different way of policing that he's got. Not saying that he's all that and a bag of chips, but he's certainly a breath of fresh air. Let's listen to this.
Thank you, everyone, for being here with me today. I'm going to talk briefly about an op that we're going to do a press conference on this next Friday morning. So y'all stay tuned for more news on Friday morning. But this obviously became big news in Cartersville, Georgia, at the police department, and the information quickly leaked out. And so now all the news media is asking for this information. So you're getting a early preview of what's going to be a very interesting release of information on a human trafficking operation. As you know, we seek out the victims of human trafficking. And in order to do that, you do prostitution stings. Well, when you do these operations, as this one was hugely successful, we'll talk about Friday, you arrest Johns who are seeking out prostitutes as well. Well, let me introduce you to what I consider a high-profile arrest. This is Deputy Chief Jason DePrima of the Cartersville Police Department. As I understand it, after talking to his chief, he's been there almost 30 years, graduate of the FBI Academy, well-respected police officer in town. Did you notice I said in town? But he was out of town. That's right. He was at an American Polygraph Association meeting in Orlando, Florida. Let me say this clearly. I don't want you to miss it. Driving an unmarked vehicle that was normally assigned to the DEA task force, meaning their officer assigned to the task force would have driven this vehicle. But apparently his vehicle was not so good to make the trip, so he's in one of the undercover vehicles. When he shows up at our undercover operation in the government vehicle, carrying alcoholic beverages, apparently some Bud Light for himself and White Claw for our undercover operative. That's right. He bought a case of White Claw because she said she would like it. So ostensibly, this guy has come to have sex with a prostitute while driving the Cartersville Police Department undercover vehicle. And he was in possession of alcohol, which of course, had we not intervened, he was going to drink that, engage in sexual conduct, and ultimately get in his government vehicle and drive back to his hotel. But newsflash, this is Jason DePrima, 49 years of age, his picture at the Polk County Jail. That's right, and let me tell you the story as he relates it to us. He is texting with, guess what, our undercover detective. He started this conversation with her on Wednesday night where he was going to show up, but he became spooked. He didn't say why, but on Thursday night, he just couldn't resist the urge to be with our undercover detective who he thought was a high-class prostitute. So he once again began to communicate. He asked how much the price is. She said $80 or a full half hour, $120. He said, I'm in. So he comes to the house. Ultimately, he's arrested. But the conversation is very interesting. He told her before the takedown occurred that the night before he had engaged with another prostitute online for $200. And that prostitute said, hey, go get a Cash App card. You know, you can buy them at the convenience stores. And he did for $200. And then she said, I want you to take a photograph of it so I know you've got the money. Well, duh. He took a photograph and sent it to the alleged prostitute on Wednesday night, according to him. You're not going to believe this. You can't even believe this. Now, this guy's a cop, and he was flim-flammed and conned by a prostitute. That's right. She took the information off of the card, got the $200, and left him high and dry. He was ripped off in a confidence scam with a prostitute or who was alleged to be a prostitute. So that was on Wednesday. Then he talks. He's not giving up. Then he talks, and Thursday night at just before midnight, he shows up. He shows up with this White Claw, and it's like, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? What is going on? You're a deputy chief, a high-ranking official in a very respected police department, and you're showing up with White Claw and 2 Bud Lights, and we're not sure whether he can do math or not, okay? Because the deal is for $120 for a half hour, a full half hour. He shows up with $180. He shows up with $180 and says, I can send you the rest of it on a Cash App, but I had to stop to buy the White Claw. So for some reason, I don't know if he's planning on extra time, he can't add, he wants to leave a tip, he wants to impress this person. But listen to his text. He's real suspicious. I guess you would be after you got ripped off the night before. Listen to his text. If you're legit as you seem, we will have fun. If not, I'm riding around with a case of White Claw, feeling girly. Well, he got to feel arresty when we put him in jail. So we put him in jail late on Thursday night under a $500 bond. He didn't get out of jail until Saturday morning at 4 o'clock. So he got to spend, almost 2 complete nights in the county jail. So now he's gone from deputy police chief. As I understand, he's suspended pending their disciplinary actions, and he's facing criminal charges here in Polk County. So if all else fails, he can write a book, How to Ruin Your Career in 3 Easy Steps. Start out by going to Florida to a polygraph association school, then lie to the detectives when they investigate and ask you questions. Oh, he made admissions. But it's like, I wanted to ask him, since he's a polygrapher and was at polygraph school, would you like to take a polygraph with those answers you gave us? How would that work for you? And according to all the information we received, he's got a beautiful wife and a great family. And you just want to go, come on, man. Have you lost the last 3 brain cells? Or do you just have cabbage for brains? Why would you do that? Anyway, he's charged. He's managed, obviously, to create a great deal of angst with his family. His police chief is angry beyond words, which I certainly clearly understand. He's embarrassed the city. He's been a police officer there for a long time. And now he's facing criminal charges in Florida. Are there any questions?
This trick to get gas for a penny is going to get banned in Canada.
What he said when he was arrested.
What he said was he came there to hang out and watch football. Well, that was a partial admission. He admitted sending the text that we received that's part of the evidence. But, you have to look at things to say, one, is it legal? Is it moral? Is it ethical? And does it pass the smell test? He lost on all 4 points. It's neither legal, ethical, moral, or passes the smell test. And I think what he should have done was say, hey, if I'd have asked my chief or my wife, is it okay to go hang out with a girl over 20 miles away and watch football while I drink beer and she drinks White Claw? Is that okay? I think he would have gotten his answer. You would have thought, as a high-ranking police officer, well respected, he would have known better, but he didn't. And now he's got lots of issues, home issues, work issues, criminal issues. What he's got going here is a situation, and he's in the middle of it. Any other questions?
How disappointing is this overall?
Well, it disappoints me for the industry. We all know better. Now, you've heard me stand right here behind this podium before about some of our folks who periodically, we've got over 1,000 deputies. Occasionally, one of them does something inappropriate, and when they do, we arrest them. My detectives, who are simply the very best, arrest them, and I stand up here and I'll walk all over them about their criminal conduct, and other police agencies. But it embarrasses me for our industry anytime you see this, because the people have a right to and expect better of us. He embarrassed our entire industry with his arrest. But you know what? Here's one thing you can count on. Write this down in your little book. You come here, you violate the law, we're going to put you in jail. We don't care who you are, because you become a criminal defendant and a criminal violator of the law, we're going to arrest you. That's just the way it is. But had he behaved, had he stayed at his polygraph association meeting, he'd been fine. But he worked all week. And so right now, think about it. He lost $200 to the prostitute that ripped him off in a flim-flam, in a scam that he should have known better on a lot of levels. Then he brought 200 more that we got, $400. Then he got misdemeanor charges. I mean, this is just insane. The whole thing is insane.
Sheriff, you guys have done multiple operations where you, via trying to get Johns or trying to get underage women to situations like this. Just your overall thoughts on, I don't know, where we are as a country as far as these becoming more recurring as the days go on.
Well, it's interesting that the overwhelming majority of the people that we've arrested in this operation aren't for Polk County. The majority of the people in Polk County have figured it out. I mean, after all, you have to live under a rock if you haven't seen some of our operations. I don't keep it a secret. A word to the wise suffices. I don't want people to violate the law. I don't want people to commit morals crimes that creates and supports an industry of human traffickers. I don't want to create an environment where predators seek young girls. So my detectives, I'm telling you, are simply the very best. And in this operation, which I'll talk about on Friday, we were joined by a lot of professional police officers from other police agencies that helped us, because we have a safe community. We have a community that looks out for the best interest of our children. We have a community that looks out for the victims of human trafficking. And we have identified some already, because we have counselors that come to our human trafficking ops. But you know what? This guy's adding to the problem. And when you come here and add to the problem, you end up in a jail uniform like this. He knows better. He knew better. But you've got to not only hold the community to the standards of the law, you've got to behave and follow the law too, and he didn't. And he's got to pay the consequences for it. But the reality of it is let the word go forth. If you think you're going to attack children or create an environment for human trafficking, not in this county. Not now, not ever. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much.
Tech stuff. Okay. Yeah. Never a day without Seamus, right? These people are supposed to be upholding the law, a higher standard. It's not a shh, I'm a deputy chief now. We can just shh, or whatever's going on down there. Brrr. No. I have a suspicion things wouldn't be handled quite the same. What date is this? September 6th. Okay, so he's suspended September 6th. One moment. So that's 6 days ago, right? I'm sure he got some phone calls probably from some people like, hey, can you do something about this? No, he didn't do it.
Did you know that you could compete?
Whatever. You and your goddamn shit. Nobody's buying it. Nobody cares. I don't. It's in your people's head. Okay, so fast forward to. Oh, sorry, that's not it. Moment. That's this one. What date is this? 3 days later. 3 days later. Good morning, NS44. Good morning, Gary, Tommy, Sad, trying to Freckles. Okay, we got everybody in there. Okay, let's fast forward 3 days. Suspended deputy chief for his goo.
Now, as you know, this is Deputy Police Chief Jason DePrima. We talked about him earlier this week because it had leaked out to the media and they showed significant interest because he's the Deputy Chief of Police in Cartersville, Georgia, where he managed to embarrass his organization, himself, and his family. And this is what he looks like when he's under arrest. We talked about him last week. I won't talk anymore today other than to tell you that he resigned from the police department. He is no longer a police officer in Cartersville, Georgia, and he needs to work on reconstructing his life with his family. He did a very mean, nasty thing to his family, and he certainly embarrassed all the people of Cartersville. I think it's important that I underscore that the Cartersville Police Department is a very professional police department in Georgia, and they didn't deserve what Jason did. And he lost his career over it. He has resigned. So with that, it must have been Government Day or Government Week at Fall Hall 2, because Jason was not the only person in law enforcement to get arrested. This is Keith Nieves. He's 24. He's a state corrections officer. He works for Lake Corrections, Lake CI. He's been there 2 years. He came there on a late night. He lives in Orlando, and he wanted to engage in consensual sex with a prostitute who turned out to be an undercover law enforcement officer. Now think about this. This guy is in charge of people who are in prison for violating the law. He comes and he violates the law. So birds of a feather flock together, and he's in the jail as a jailbird like those jailbirds he watches.
Very different way of handling things. Very different way of handling things. Rather than cover shit up, rather than, and I think you're talking about when about Nova Scotia, and I think it's very important that I underscore that. It's far more serious than, you know, just a little bit of drunkenness and some code of conducts for coming out. There's something quite serious going on underneath it all. But irrespective, these people are the law. They have a higher standard. Kids were raised once upon a time to respect the police and say to the, you know, this is, can I link it? Sure. This is the update. It's he's going through the bust that he was going to announce. Public shame, absolutely shame. Like I say, shame was going to make a comeback, and it's going to make a hard one, and people are going to be, the ones that aren't on the right side of this one are going to feel the wrath, and I don't think they have any idea what they're in for. That's that one. And plus he takes it, you know, the press conference, the way it's done.
When it comes to trimming your balls,
Cramp it. When it comes to trimming my balls, I'll decide, bimbo. And that's the original one. This lady with discussion of things that shouldn't be talked about, probably. Distracted me. Anyway, we'll. Oh, right, the press conferences. He does press conferences all the time, and it's not limited. Well, we'll decide what's going to be said, and we'll give you a piece of paper, and it's going to be vetted and cleaned by our friends and family in our giant bureaucracy that you all pay for. We'll decide what you need to hear. No, he's like, I'll take all of your questions, and when you're done, then I'll leave the room. Okay. Now, I want to brainstorm today on, and we'll try and do it in a chronological order, all the issues that you guys have that there is substantive proof for at this point in time, documents that you have read, etc. Specifically documents, anything that you can, and if you can identify the document, ideally by COM number, that would be even like way better. But even if you just know where it was or who said it, then that'll help. And we can start chronologically on the 18th. Now, or issues that you have with mass casualty, that probably would be good. I wanted to talk about a couple of issues while you kind of do a little bit of brainstorming, and we can just start off at the beginning. How's that? Okay, so Rodney Peterson, who I'm not 100% decided on, but I think I believe that he, in discussing it with people who would know better than me, who do know better than I, in their read of things, say that Rodney Peterson did everything by the book. He did everything by the book, you know, and I think he's getting rammed up on this one. We've talked about some of that before. I've read some of his, and I'd like to actually read his affidavit and put that on file. Cheryl, good morning. Countryside, morning. But there's some interesting things in this affidavit that I'd like to dissect. Now, if I go to, this is going to load for me. Okay, here we go. I have to do this again. Why did it turn off? Oh, I guess I closed it, right? Okay, so legally, you can take things in a hierarchical value of validity and trustworthiness. An affidavit is at probably the top of the list. Why? Because if you lie in an affidavit, you are under threat of perjury. That's just the way it is. So there is potential jail time. Lying in an affidavit is extremely serious. And so when a person says something in an affidavit, and certainly in this process, over some goop that people spin on stage or on stage, or in interviews or typed transcripts or whatever, I'm definitely going to hold something true to an affidavit. Why? Because, well, what are you going to throw in jail? A transcript? No. But if a person lies, and equally, if they're an officer and they get caught lying, like they're gone, right? So now, let's fast forward here in this affidavit. Oh, okay. So look at how the way that this is structured. I think this is very interesting to note too. So first of all, right there is a large tell, I think, to me, right here. McPhee. I believe that's the same McPhee, is the one who is sworn before. Interesting. McPhee, bring out big guns. Okay. Now, the way that this is structured, very interesting. What it does is it has the questions first, okay, and then the replies. So it's much harder to follow along with. If you have two screens or whatever open, then it's a lot easier. But, it doesn't have just the sub answer underneath of it. Now, there's one piece that I want. There's a few things in this definitely that I'd like to talk about. But again, I will read through it at a later point. But there is two references in here. There's code of conducts. Let's just do it this way. Actually, that long. I could read it right now. Affidavit. Remember, he is under threat of perjury if he does not tell the truth. Is that the first? No. That is the first one. I'm sorry. Sorry. Point 19. After I put gas into my vehicle, I called Constable McDonald and Trent Lafferty. Why? Because those are his, that's his team. His team. Corporal Rodney McDonald. Corporal Rodney Peterson. Who's underneath him is 3 amigos and another person who's out sick. Interestingly enough, the only person who contacted him. These other 3 amigos self-dispatched. Code of conduct. Big problem. Now, he had no idea. Nobody told him. Peterson. After I put gas into my police vehicle, I called Constable Rodney McDonald and Trent Lafferty. Why did he call them? This is kind of sad. I feel kind of bad. He's calling them to ask them if they want coffee. He still doesn't have really any idea what's going on too much, but he's asking them if they want some coffee. Like, he really tries to get along with these guys, and I don't think they like him. Sad. After I put gas into my vehicle, I called Constable Rodney McDonald, Trent Lafferty, 2 of the 3 amigos, obtained information about what happened. I believe it was at this time that I learned that there were multiple victims in multiple residences. That was when then all of a sudden he's like, oh shit. And he left. I think he drove over the curb when he left. He's like, oh fuck, no coffee for you. I also learned the suspect had possession of an assortment of firearms, which included a sniper rifle and a .50 caliber rifle. None of the weapons that were recovered were a sniper rifle or a .50 caliber rifle. When you're talking about .50 caliber rifle, that is a serious gun. It is a huge gun. For those of you who aren't familiar with the gun, why? No, that's not what I want. It is a very big gun. It is designed for putting holes in tanks. It's a huge gun. I don't even think it would fit in the fucking Mazda, to be honest with you. Why is it that the 2 of 3 amigos seem to understand that there is a .50 caliber rifle involved and a sniper rifle, neither of which were recovered? Yes, the shell is big and expensive. This is not a readily available weapon in Canada. I don't even think it's legal. I don't know. But it's a very expensive gun. It's a very big gun. It has a purpose. It's for sniping and for, doing very serious damage. Putting holes in tanks. I'm not fucking kidding with you. It can put a hole, I think, in an Abrams tank. How is it that they have understanding that he has this weapon? Or these weapons? Why has that never really been raised? Or has it? Are there other clues and indicators? Canada actually uses a different gun. How many? We got like 3 of the top 10 or something like that. Snipers in the world, maybe even more than that, actually. We don't use that gun for sniping. It can be used for sniping, for sure. Americans like it. But he's saying that it was a sniper rifle, and he doesn't just not once. He goes on further, twice. The reason I pulled them back, discussing plan, we were meant to go, okay, this is up at the Fishers. Some interesting things in here about the Fishers. But anyway, moving along, at least in terms of the narrative, as in people and timing and things that aren't asked. There's a period of time that's kind of avoided in here, and I have questions about it. Due to my training and experience, discussed the plan before a team arrived, officer safety. I was concerned at hurrying, and I was afraid they would be ambushed because I had just learned that the perpetrator had a sniper rifle and a .50 caliber rifle. That's pretty definitive. And who's talking about this? Or do we have somebody who can't hit somebody with a laser sight in a car? Or that requires multiple shots to kill certain, victims here? Let's go back. .109. There's actually the 107. I believe it's 107, 106. Also, Bolo. SOC is thought to be, I remember reading this in the back during the video, and I'm like, this is a very odd way of phrasing this. Very familiar with firearms. Who would have told them that? How would they have known? 1 o'clock in the morning. Let's back up a little bit. 12:54. 911 logs. Jen McCallum. I was corrected on this the other day. Actually, I have a friend by that same last name, Irishman. I'm friends with their family. And it's McCallum, but I guess it's McCallum or something down there. Anyway, I don't want to be saying the wrong one. Truro Police Dispatch phone call. Okay, so they're talking to each other. Probably related to Addie, I would think. There's two of them. Maybe nepotism. I don't know. Just saying. Okay. We believe that he is very familiar with guns. Okay. Well, maybe somebody told. The fucking sniper rifle, I'm sorry, and .50 caliber in an affidavit. And it's like one of the first pieces of information that's passed along to him from two of the three amigos after they've decided to do their own thing. Let's go forward. 11:09 or 11:01:49. Halliday, Staff Sergeant Halliday. Colchester radio logs. Is this Colchester? Sorry, my correction. I believe this is East Hants, because the time is correct. If you want to say it is. Staff Sergeant Halliday. So now the suspect is in a silver tracker and is a sharpshooter, highly trained, a sniper. Copy? Sergeant Bernard. Go again? Go again? He is driving, suspect is now driving a silver tracker and is a sharpshooter. Whatever, I don't, CSI guy, whatever. I don't know about that one. That one seems like a bunch of hokey stuff. But 50 caliber and a sniper rifle, neither of which have ever been recovered. And somebody who is trained, not shooting dunes over across the river or playing cowboys and Indians down in Holton, Maine. At a property we have no idea. Possibly doesn't own. I don't. Who knows? How much disinformation has been piped around? Sharpshooter. He's a sniper. You had the involvement of Lieutenant Colonel Hallman, Special Ops. I believe he's Special Ops. My apologies. I read that email, so it's just one. Lori Ward. It reads as follows: Lieutenant Colonel, and then I tracked down some other stuff because I think he's on the website actually. Hallman. Costa Diamopolis. Yeah. IMT. Cover ass Robin Diamopolis. Langolier. This guy. Or I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. Langolier. Colonel Langolier. Which is the first email. I always get these out of order. 11:13, 7:04 a.m. April 3rd. What the fuck, man? That's weird. April. Oh. Yeah. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay. Leaving that aside for the moment. Chris Leather and Hallman, Darren and Langler. So I'm not sure which one is first. I guess you start off at the bottom. Thank you for reaching out incidentally, Major Hallman. Superintendent Campbell, Glenn Mason, and I had preliminary discussion with Major Nish and Captain Wilson briefly, but blah, 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 blah. OIC support, Canadian Forces. I am with comms. Yeah, Danny Kelly, SO4LO, Incident Command. I have Warren Greenwood surveillance aircraft and helicopter surveillance capability and feeding the CDs and staff. Is this the one I briefly discussed? This isn't the one I'm looking for. Okay, there was a dude this Langelier fellow, maybe that's the name I need to be searching. Langelier is in the command post, and he's Special Forces liaison. What? When did that come in? Why has that not been mentioned? Highly trained sniper. Not to go off too much into the weeds, but sometimes can't even hit a target right away. Who told them? Who told them that? I've looked around. I can't find any reference. I asked, oh dear, any of you guys have any idea on that one? Oh, oh, Jesus, I can't see that. I believe he's on the website, Colonel. I think he's at that point he was Major. Maybe I don't know. He's been promoted, I think. Garrett Howman. Yep. I know it's in there. And then there's the letter from Lori Ward referring to Hallman. Lieutenant Colonel Hallman, while involved with the incident ongoing, mainly dealing with the RCMP H Division Criminal Ops Officer and Canadian Special Operations Force Liaison Officer who arrived at the incident command post. Snipers are far and few between. Highly trained snipers. They only come from two places that I can think of: military, government organizations, for sure. Government, military, different branches thereof. And police. SWAT. Or something. ERT. You know. Heavy duty firepower. Questions about the military's involvement here. Obviously, they seem to know something that we don't. Staff Sergeant Holliday seems to know something. Rodney Peterson swears to it twice under threat of perjury. Jail time. The most reliable piece of evidence you're going to get. They knew right away. He's very familiar with firearms. Who would have told them that? Questions. Okay. Always leave your thoughts and stuff down below, please. This next one, I'm very reticent to talk about because it's going to be a sensitive one. I'm just talking about something that's out there, though. 23rd, email, re-update. Chubbs, Brennan, Rob O'Reilly, Lee Bergerman, Brenda Lucky. All upstairs. Ma'am, 12:30 in the afternoon on the 23rd. This is Ottawa time, I believe. It is. -300 Zulu. Ma'am, please do not share as the medical examiner still have 5 victims who have not been identified. These blank will need DNA. Excuse me? I need to do a little bit more digging on this one. But I'm pretty sure you had all of the people identified. Didn't you? In the media. So if I'm reading that right, I'm going to, this is where my mind goes. I'm going to assume, rightly or wrongly, but logic seems to dictate that people who were involved with the fires, again, trying to be very cautious with my languaging, would be, it would be a lot more difficult to ID, right? I don't think somewhere here I have the page open, but good luck finding it. So let's just do a search. A lot of goo. Where was it? I had it open. Here's one. Okay. Victims who lost their lives, mass shooting, Nova Scotia. Got Heidi, Lisa, Heather, Kristen, John and Alana, Greg and Jamie, Frank and Dawn. Gina, the Tux, Corey Ellison, Tom, and Joey. Now, there are 5 people on there that fire was involved. I don't know about, I think in bones and things like that. I don't really want to see, I don't want to go into the grisly details because I'm trying to be very sensitive. Now, to the best of my read, there were 7 victims that fire was involved. There are 5 people on that list that fire was involved, leaving 2. How is it that they do not have DNA? Or that they cannot identify 5 people? How is it that they're identified? Were the families told? Because that opens up some questions. Were the families told that their loved ones were dead? Or did they say to them, and that's more digging, but did they say to them, listen, it must be, which is possible. But I would assume that the families wouldn't go to the media and say, listen, my loved one is dead. They'd more be of the mind like, I don't know. They can't tell me. So did the RCMP inform the media that people were dead when they didn't know? I still have that open. Good. Let's go back. April 28th. Fast forward 5 days. Big press conference. Right? With rife with details. The media were like, "Oh, this is super. You gave us tons of stuff." Whatever, man. I noticed the other day when I was like, somebody criticized the bagpipe. It's like, well, you know what? Families haven't been heard from. I think, frankly, playing dedication and shit like that is okay over Ward.
Or I believe it was when he was in Wentworth that he had drove by one location that he then returned to later.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's not a problem. Now I understand what you're asking. So when you travel to the Wentworth area, it's our belief that the victims of that, the murder of the 2 men and 1 woman and the house fire, they were known, or at least the couple that lived at that residence were known to the gunman. That first image that is on that slide is an image from a house nearby that had a video surveillance system, and I believe that it shows the gunman passing by towards that residence where that offense occurred at around 6:30 in the morning.
Bear with me.
The second
This is not the question. I don't have it quite queued up because I watched it.
Is approximately 3 hours later. That's from the same residence, capturing the vehicle leaving that area. As I indicated before, it's our belief that the gunman went to the victim's residence. We believe that the gunman took the lives of those individuals shortly after arriving. However, we believe that the gunman more than likely had stayed in that residence for a period of time before setting on fire and then leaving southbound on Highway 4 from that location.
Okay, I think it's now.
Thank you, and thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
7.
The
Right?
next question, la question suivante est de Héloïse Rodriguez de Radio-Canada. Please go ahead, la parole est à vous.
Bonjour, est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire si à ce moment-ci le bilan des victimes est final ou si on s'attend à ce qu'il continue d'augmenter et combien de victimes sont mortes par balle et combien sont mortes dans les flammes?
Un peu plus lentement, s'il te plaît.
Oui. Pouvez-vous nous dire si le bilan
Can
des
you
victimes
tell us
est final
whether
et combien de
the
personnes sont
toll
mortes
of
par
the
balle
victims
et
is
combien sont
final
mortes dans les feux?
and how many victims died because of fire?
Okay, watch them. They're gonna count.
Un moment, s'il te plaît.
They're conferring, going through the details. You can literally hear them. 7. 9.
Nous savons que 9 personnes ont été
We know that 9
par,
individuals
l'incendie.
were killed by fire and the others by gunshot wounds.
Maybe I need to hear that again. Because if I do my math correctly, there was 7 involved. 5 days later, they're actually saying 9. Corporal Clark. I believe is she Jangid? I think so. And they're pretty, it's not like, he's got all the information. This is the RCMP. If anybody fucking is diligent with paperwork and goo, may go on the O drive, but that's another story.
Stayed in that residence for a period of time before setting on fire and then leaving southbound on Highway 4 from that location.
Thank you, and thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. The next question, la question suivante est de Héloïse Rodriguez de Radio-Canada. Please go ahead, la parole est à vous.
Bonjour, est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire si à ce moment-ci le bilan des victimes est final, si on s'attend à ce qu'il continue d'augmenter et
Can you tell us whether you expect there to be more victims?
dans les flammes?
Un peu plus lentement, s'il te plaît.
Oui. Pouvez-vous nous dire si le bilan
Can
des
you tell
victimes
us
est final
whether
et combien de
the
personnes sont
toll of
mortes
the
dans les
victims
flammes,
is
combien sont
final?
mortes dans les feux?
And how many victims died because of fire?
Un moment, s'il te plaît. Nous savons que 9 personnes ont été
We know that 9
par
individuals
l'incendie.
were
Et les
killed
autres
by fire and the others by gunshot wounds.
Well, that doesn't match. Not the narrative that they're telling before and after. 9? Where did you get 2 new people? I remember a long time ago there was a correction in the media, something, and they changed it all. I believe they just said then everybody died by bullet. Okay, and I'm trying to be really sensitive. Now, obviously some people could maybe be identified, but some people, no. I'm assuming. Remember the picture that came out right at the beginning? The legacy thing, which definitively can be proven that it was made on the 19th, 20th. War Room fired it up right away. How do you know that? Because of the people who are who are ID'd in it. One moment. I've always had a problem with the photo. The virtual vigil. Is that what they called it? This piece, this picture. Which I've proven in another video, came from very early on. I could show, I believe it was global. And they said it's coming up on the same day, of course, as the press release. Got to have the distraction for the 24th, but that was released on the Monday. This lady is the producer of it. She's posting out on the 20th about it. On the 20th. Bing. On the 20th. Remember the war room in serious full effect right away. And I was like, whoa, you guys don't even know who's dead. The victims, you haven't even hardly, families were waiting. This is what you did. This is what you did. But they had the picture, which was very odd. The victims that were included on it. I'll have to find the global clip where she's playing it. And she's, who is it? It's Weather Girl, I think, isn't it? She says, "Oh, coming up on the 24th, there will be on the 24th, the press conference that was crap, which was at 11 o'clock in the morning. I finally got a time on it. 11 o'clock in the morning. Not broadcast anywhere. They broadcast George Floyd and all kinds of other shit. Couldn't find a copy. They never live streamed it. Also did Heidi, bunch of other things on the same day. Very intentional. Distract everybody with everything else, and then just kind of slip something in underneath. Produced on the 20th. It's but they were going on the 19th. I was able to find proof of that already. But what the fuck? And this picture came up at the start. Now, I'm assuming it would be difficult to have a couple of people in here, and there's some people that should certainly be on there that are missing. We got 16 here of 22. Okay, so that made me think and go back a little bit more. Thoughts, please let me know. Your input is very important on this one. So how did they get 9? How are they waiting on 5? Are they telling families their loved one is deceased when they have no fucking idea? Not good. I'm sensing a liability one here coming down the pike too. Another one. Oops. I don't like going in this area because it's sensitive. Sensitive. I'm trying to be very sensitive. I always try and respect the families. Now, post-mortem, there are 21 of them listed. Okay. I did determine who was missing. I can't quite remember. I'm sorry. Maybe if you guys see it, and that's really bad, but it's just not popping out at me right now. Now, if I'm thinking of people, and again, trying to be very sensitive here, if I think of people who fire was involved, okay, we know that they knew about Joey in the car, Addie McCallum's notes, or somebody in the car, something in the car. Addie McCallum's notes have a diagram. I believe there is interviews from Peterson, etc. Good morning, MU. Good morning, Peter Lamb, Sandy, and Donna. So if we go to Joey, there's a lawsuit. Part of their lawsuit pending right now is because of Joey and the way that they handled his body, which is deplorable. Deplorable. They knew it was in there, and yet they towed it and left it. Nice. Okay, now these postmortems are very, very scant on detail, which I understand, and in other ways maybe less so. But I have seen some postmortems, and I can tell you that there are some funny things going on with those, the full versions. But we'll just leave it at this right now. For what has the MCC issued? Again, being respectful. So we know that Joey, there was sadly, very tragically, fire involved. April 22nd, the day before that email came out about 5 unidentified, post-mortem examination conducted by forensic pathologist Bose. Okay, so we have the date, we have Bose. Bose has got a lot of questions around him and his mechanical disruptions. Not a medical term. Yeah, tried to do the stuff with the Fitbit and D49, major problem. I understand that that's a lot more in depth than a lot of people understand, but the evidence piece D49 is a gigantic fuck up. Fragments of a shell, Mr. Wharton's head. I'm laying out a lot of different pieces here, but the cause of the death was gunshot wound, and the manner of the death was homicide. Okay, so you have a baseline here, right? 6 other people that their narrative says. Okay. Let's go to Frank. On dates unknown, an anthropological analysis was conducted by Dr. Kathy Gruspier, as well as a dental examination by Dr. R.E. Wood. The cause of the death could not be determined from the examination. However, the context of the case indicates the manner of death is homicide. Okay. Wow. Okay. But dates unknown. You don't know. Really now. Dr. Kathy Gruspier is University of Toronto. Not sure why they have to go over there. Let's go and look at Zoll. Mr. Zoll, Mr. John Zoll. On April 27th, an anthropological analysis was conducted by Dr. Kathy Gruspier. Okay, so there's 1 of 5, right? The examination did not yield definite anatomic cause of death, and so the cause of death was registered as undetermined. Remember, we had the big cat, or whatever the fuck was going on down at Brenda's former residence, the Zoll residence. 3, yeah, whatever the fuck that was all about. All right, now let's go to Sean Cloud. Again, please, I'm just stating what's here. On dates unknown, anthropological and dental examinations were conducted by forensic anthropologist Dr. Kathy Gruspier, again, and odontologist Dr. R.E. Wood. Cause of death cannot be determined by examination. However, the context of the case indicates the manner of death was homicide. Okay, I'm not questioning the cause of death, but I'm questioning the 5 and 9. Now, if we go to Alana. On dates unknown, anthropological and dental examinations were conducted by anthropologist Dr. Kathy Gruspier, University of Toronto, and odontologist Dr. R.E. Wood. The cause of death cannot be determined by examination, but head trauma is described. Interesting. I'll leave that with maybe a couple of you who are in here. What's with the 9 number? How are you IDing some of these people without being grisly? How do you know certain details on certain things? Maybe again, there's more that because we had, remember, Hunter Road. And destruction of scenes. And why is it that by the 23rd they don't know? Yet it seems like maybe even by the 20th, some people are known. And yet a few days later, you're saying there's 9 people when there never was. You count them. Something needs some clarification. Being respectful of the families. Now, so we dealt with Sniper. I think I should probably mask the evidence a little bit wetter. Nice. Well, do remember, Skippy was cleaning out pieces of jewelry which went missing. Or may have, or may not have. But there seems to be some confusion as where things may have gone with toothpicks. And yet, there were cars being towed. They knew about it. There were crime scenes being bulldozed. And people may have been inside. But you could do a parade. You could do a parade. run IMT War Machine right away and do TV specials before you know anything? Who are they really helping here all along? I mean, wow. April 20th. You know, as far as the eye can see. Thanks, Sean. I mean, this is not proper. Ouch. Who are we really taking care of? The trauma-based informed people who are hiding behind that so that they don't have to give answers. They're really some shitty people. Because families were waiting. They were waiting. And they don't forget that. Somewhere I have that video. Eek. 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 It just keeps going on and on and on. They certainly had the bodies to put out there. Yes, HRP isn't there. And HRP, I don't know, could look at the Quindet report. Seems to. HRP was at the big stop that morning. Just waiting around. HRP officer in Shubenacadie who just happened to be there and have his gun out. Who's that? Okay. I'm sensing some more lawsuits coming. Yet when it really came to it, you know, did you help out your members? Even?
Going to direct you back to Portapic in the early morning hours of April 19th.
Oh, sorry, this is
and we have statements from a witness named Leon Jodry, and you might or might not recall that he is the person. His home is where Lisa Banfield went, and
mind you, this is a good one.
Rescued her from. Setting that aside for a moment, though, Mr. Jodry has given evidence or statements that that he was out of his home around 4 a.m., went for a drive down Orchard Beach Drive, and he calls it a SWAT vehicle, but we know it's the TAV, directed him to leave the area, to go to the containment point. And I'm wondering, did either of you see a gentleman in a half-ton truck and order him out of the area?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay. Thank you. It doesn't show up in your handwritten notes, so I know you can't possibly record everything that goes on, so you did see him.
Yeah, he pulled up next to our armored vehicle and he was given instructions to leave the area to the head of Porter Peak Beach Road and leave the area.
That is correct, but that was after we found Lisa Banfield.
No, that was before.
My recollection is we had evacuated Lisa Banfield out.
He was told after that as well, but it was when you had gone back to the command.
So I don't recall that meeting at all.
No, you weren't there. You were
okay. Oh, that's why. That's why. Okay.
Of course, no follow-up on that, really, right? Don't ask anything about that. Because that seems like a rather important detail. Was the meeting one of those informal debriefings at the barn over beers? Was that what it was? Afterward? You weren't at that meeting. Oh, yeah, the meeting. Mills has some really good stuff. And I have to formally apologize to him because I think I was a bit hard on him. It's very hard for me to focus on streaming comments and paying attention to testimony given. And I just saw the anger initially, but he explains the anger.
Correct.
Hopefully I've got this lined up here. I can get it. And his interview is even more interesting. Wrong thing, sorry. You have to give me a minute to cue this one up. So my apologies to him for not catching what he was saying.
Right now, I am just about to the end of my questioning, but I wanted to cover one additional area that's not related specifically to the narrative, but it's related to post-incident support with respect to engagement with the RCMP. Retired Corporal Mills, are you in a position to make any comments with respect to the manner in which post-incident support was provided to you and your team?
Yes, I am.
Would you like to do so?
Yes, I will.
Please.
Yes, I will.
So the RCMP as an organization wants to give this impression that they care about their members and that they will do commit.
Watch the hammer fall. Yes, I will.
Commissioner Brenda Lucky said herself, we'll do whatever we can, or, we can't do enough. The way we were treated after this is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. It's the reason I left the RCMP, actually.
Boom.
So we had 13 guys, cab operator, Emer, and we went out and we laid our best down, to stop this threat, to save as many people as we could. We honestly did. And we were to work the very next day. And most guys were.
Watch Milton. Watch them. Both of them. Yep. Yes. Boom.
Back in and, writing up notes, doing tasks, debriefings. We were there the very next day because you got a bunch of resilient guys that want to work is what you have. Problem is the setup of our team, 5 full-time members, we had the luxury of being in headquarters. They gave us initially 72 hours. They stood us down, not taking calls, but we were still at work. We start getting to the Wednesday or the Tuesday, the 72 hours, and it was asked, can we get a few more days? Yes, we can. We'll extend it to Friday. And for the aftercare, they set up a team debrief with 3 psychologists. So it was the RCMP force psychologist for Halifax here, Anna Nagy. It was the retired RCMP psychologist, Margaret Grant, I believe. And then there was a 3rd civilian psychologist.
Remember also, sorry, I know I interrupt and I throw in a lot of detail while watching them though, because you can see Milton's very uncomfortable. Very. The psychologists, the debriefing. Psychologists are used by the RCMP to fish. Remember the case I had before? I showed you a long time ago of the fake psychologist. And the lady met the real psychologist years later, and she's like, I've never met this person. And the psychologist is like, I don't know who the fuck you are, but my heart goes out to you.
So halfway through the week when we were supposed to, the part-timers go back to work Saturday in their general duty detachments, one of the general duty members come up to me and he said, listen, man, he said, some of the guys have been talking to me and he said, is there any way on earth we can get a little more time to decompress by, like here we are a week after Port-a-Pic and we got to go back to work handing out COVID tickets or menial task stuff or, going to like just traffic stops and we're not ready for that yet. Is there any way we could get a little more time to decompress? And I worked general duty for 20 years and I was like, absolutely, makes 100% sense to me. So I went and spoke to my line officer who was supportive. And he said, you have this psychology debriefing Friday. Let's, hold off before we push it up the line, meaning to get approval to see what they have to say about it. I said, great idea. So we went Friday morning, had this psychological debriefing Friday morning, and every guy, laid their heart on the line and let them know how we were feeling. Their advice was, be around like-minded people, talk openly about it, stay busy, and that's how you can fight PTSD or trauma or anything like that. So that was their recommendations. And I said, perfect. This is what I've been asked and this is what I proposed to my line officer, but we're looking for your support. At the time, Anna Nagy was out of the room, but Margaret Grant and the other one, and I said, the part-timers are we're just looking for 2 weeks for them to come in. I have tons of tasks for them to do, with the aftermath of this. After action reports need to be written up, all the deficiencies of drones and MWS in the vehicles, all that has to be straightened away. It's too much for 5 guys, so we're looking for a 2-week period that 8 guys can come in and work with her in kind of an admin role, let them decompress. And then, that will probably give them enough time to get back to general duty policing. Margaret Grant and the civilian was like on board. Yes, that's a great idea. We support that. Anna Nagy come back in the room and she was kind of briefed on it. And she looked me straight in the eye and said, Tim, that's a great idea. I support that. So I went back and spoke to my line officer. I said, yep, the 3 of them support that recommendation. Great, we'll make it happen. So that was the Friday after Portapic. Basically, Saturday was our first day off of work. I was home, and I, felt supported. Felt like, all right, we'll get through this. And Saturday afternoon, I get a call from my line officer. There seems to be a hiccup. Halifax District, our CMPs, one of your members didn't show up for work today. They're wondering why. And I was like, well, there's a miscommunication somewhere because and he said, yeah, we'll get it straightened out. So anyway, right off, that starts to bother you, that the lack of communication and the lack of empathy. And so then it grows and it festers and it grows. Saturday night was the first night I couldn't sleep at all. Sunday night, I get the phone call from my line officer. No, they're to go back to work to their home unit. And I said, I'm sorry, but I'm disobeying this. I said, they're coming into headquarters tomorrow morning because of what the psychologist agreed with, what I know is right, and what the guys need. So they came into work, and I told the guys, no, I'm not listening to bad orders. You guys are coming in and we're working. And we went in as a team and we were there. And I was making phone calls, and I was in touch with mental health. I forget the word they use, but some high-ranking deputy commissioners in Ottawa sent them emails saying, listen, we need, some empathy. We need to see what's going on down here. I'm fighting this battle myself. I reached out to other people across Canada, and Monday morning I come in, and this is how I know it wasn't a misunderstanding, because I sent a text message to Anna Nagy, the RCMP psychologist. Crickets. She never responded back. Had it been a misunderstanding, I'm sure they would have called me right back. Oh, what's the confusion? This and that. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, we'll straighten it out. Nothing. Crickets. No one would call me. Monday morning, I get a phone call from the health services nurse. I forget her name. Well, this can't be right. This just can't be right. We'll look into it. Crickets. Nothing. And Wednesday afternoon, I get an email from my line officer saying, no, they're going back to their home units. So at that time, the part-time members that were a week and a half after Portapic was forced to go back and work in their home units.
Ooh.
I had absolutely zero to gain from this because I was already full-time. This was for my part-timers. There were members off because of Portapic not working that are still off today that didn't see what we seen, didn't experience what we experienced. We were at multiple sites, multiple casualties, and they forced our guys back to work, our part-timers back to work a week and a half after.
And as you said, that was the genesis of your decision eventually to.
Well, it got to the point where we wanted this investigated. We wanted to, how did this happen? At that point, we're bitter. We're bitter at management. And we want to find out how this happened. I knew how it happened, but we wanted to find out for sure. And we kept digging and clawing for information and wanted it investigated. And sure enough, just got swept under the rug because the people that made the decisions and protected the people that made decisions are commissioned officers.
Boom!
And they basically protect each other. So it's what's good for you isn't good for me, vice versa. It's basically a two-tier system. And after, and they were going to investigate me. I was given a heads up. You're being watched.
Because that's what they do. That's what they do. When you step out of line and you start to question things. So he wants to investigate. He wants to find out what happened. Nope. Can't do that. They're going to investigate him. They're going to start to drive the bus over him. How many officers have I seen, good officers, that they've done this to? Horrendous. I know of one that's had to leave the country. Absolutely fucking destroyed him. He may be watching. His whole life, everything gone. because he did the right thing.
And they were going to investigate me because I've got the transcripts of text messages where we want an official statement from the 2 other psychologists on what Tim's saying. Because they were trying to paint me as a liar, where I had 13 other witnesses in the room that heard the same thing I heard. So at that point, I still want to investigate. I want the truth out there. And I kept saying right from the start, you want to know the truth? You get the 13 of us in the room with Anna Nagy, Margaret Grant, the other psychologists, and the people making the decisions, and you're quickly going to find out who's telling the truth. That never got done because they knew who was telling the truth, and they didn't want to show that they were protecting a liar. So at the end of it in November, the person that was responsible, I was in contact with her supervisor, Superintendent Rob Doyle, to investigate his employee for wrongdoing. Okay. And he did nothing and basically became arrogant and abusive and, like shameful in emails to me. And at that point, I was like, I'm done working for a broken organization. I'm done working for this organization. And I just, I was
a broken organization. I'm done. Abusive to him. I'm done. I'm done with you guys. The vacancy rate in Nova Scotia after this, and across the country, funnily enough, went up huge. That's why they're dropping the standards even more. And what are you going to get? You've driven out good officers. Dion Sutton, how many? How many are gone? I want to see a list. Good for him. I'm going to disobey bad orders. That they're going to conduct him. That's what they would do.
Starting to get cranky with the kids, get cranky with my dogs at home. That's not me. I'm an easygoing guy. And at that point, I'm like, it's healthier for me to retire and probably safer for,
Stand.
Yeah.
Thank you for that insight. You need not respond, Corporal Milton, but do you have?
You need not respond. Let's just move along there, Burl. You want to talk about fixing your organization. How about shit like that? How about you ask him? He knows. He knows lots of stuff. And he knows the breakdown up there. Quit talking about stuff that has your manufactured shit that backfired on you horribly. Maybe that was why you canceled. You know, all these groups that you tried to pull in to cover up your goo. Well, now they're going to start talking about you, just like they did. That war room, I'll tell you, is full of dum-dums. Seen it coming. Sorry about you.
Have any additional comments with respect to post-incident support?
The only thing I'll say, it's not about individuals, it's about the organization, I guess, as a whole. So when Tim talks about recommendations that we had put forward to have our members, part-time members, come into the unit, that wasn't just, our own good idea fairies coming out. I myself had been on training just prior to this incident. Being a national police force, we have the opportunity to do training nationally and with international partners. And I had done a SWAT team leaders course in the months prior to Portapique. And the instructor was from Colorado and had been through Columbine in his junior SWAT service. And one of the things that he preached on was mental health of the members and the team and the first responders. And it certainly wasn't new lessons at this point in 2020. This is something that had happened 22 years earlier, right? And he had said in the months and years following Columbine, they lost more than half of their operators because they didn't take proper mental health care of their members. And he said, just as Tim reiterated, you need to keep busy, you need to keep together, and you need to be with like-minded individuals. And that was all that we were asking for at that point in time. Was,
can you hear a difference? Can you hear a difference in what they're saying? Mills versus Milton. Mills, who started to turn angry, bitter, and he's like, this isn't me. I got to get out of here. You're a broken organization. Mills, not so bad. Just mental health stuff, you know.
To bring our members in so that we could take care of tasks and duties that, you know, we were responsible for doing anyway, but to be able to care for each other in the time after. As an organization, the RCMP preaches that we've got peer-to-peer support, we've got wellness, we've got all these different umbrellas to look after our members, but they're not necessarily appropriate for the members. We were getting calls from peer-to-peer supports of very junior members in service, 1 or 2 year service members that had never experienced anything, and it was more just, you know, checking the box phone call. Yet we've called these members that have been through a traumatic experience. We've done our due diligence, but there's no material to what's being put out there.
That's true. That's true. Look at those notebooks. They just have little boxes and they check them. It's not about wellness. It's not about caring. Look at the wellness report. The wellness report. You really care. Frankly, I mean, if I had an officer like Leather and he started to look like that, no offense on you, sir, I think it's because the stress is really getting to you. I would be very concerned just from the physical appearance. What was it one family member said to me? When Leather walked on stage, families, there was a noticeable gasp looking at him. Check that box. Who cares?
The thoughts are there, but the actual actions aren't there. So,
Okay. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.
Commissioners, I have been longer than I anticipated. I apologize for that, but the information is important.
Move along.
Thank you, Mr. Burrell, and thank you, corporals, for your assistance here this morning. The process we've developed is that we will now break. Mr. Burrell and other commission counsel will meet with counsel for the participants and discuss whether or not there are further questions for you, and if so, who would be asking them. So that's what we'll do. So you're still under oath, obviously, and we'll break until 2 o'clock, and you can come back at that time.
He just said a lot. Justice McDonald. He just said a lot. You want to go in the back room. You should be jumping all over that. Mr. Burrell should be jumping all over that, wherever he's disappeared to now. Perhaps he will end up looking like Mr. Leather, which would be very unfortunate. But you're all going to end up like that. Because you're doing the wrong thing. But, Leather did do the right thing. Mills did the right thing. Called it up. No, we're going to go away. Doesn't matter what you said. Sorry, can we talk about something else? Better get on that phone to IMT. Maybe they'll find some splinter group you can talk about. Rural how rural people are stupid. It's all their fault. Or perhaps it's your organization that's broken and members leave. And then you have to fire up Facebook accounts, SOC accounts. Please, everybody loves us. Why don't you do another study on our dollar? What is it? Not 70% or 90% of Canadians or Nova Scotians, the same fucking study that they fucking pulled out here in Alberta. Maybe they were talking to Dr. Matt Logan. Farming data, just so they can use against members. Good job. You guys are awesome. Bump, bump. And people like this want it to continue. Huh? What did you say? Sorry? You said something was broken? Okay, that translates to, it's working fine. And can we talk about something else so that nobody heard what you said? I think I heard what you said. And in reading your interview, it's even more interesting. Just like Dion Sutton says, I wouldn't trust them with a goldfish. With a goldfish. Where's that? Oh, right. Can't bring that forward. Can't talk about that. Can't bring in the people actually that quit from your broken organization who identified clear problems. Again, please don't let the underlying issue, because this is just a symptom of a cancer. Nova Scotia, whatever the fuck was going on there, is something else entirely separate. Op. Garbage. These people just were cleanup people, whether cleaning up for the RCMP or trying to do their job. You know, like Dion Sutton. I just turned off my lights and sirens. You guys were just sending me on a wild goose chase. Bump, bump. Let's drive the bus over. How many people? Look in the media. The people, funnily enough, who the bus is going bump over, in some of these cases, those are the people they want you to not hear, to avoid, because they may know things. But talk about Black Nova Scotians, which you're just going to cancel anyway, because your war room fucked up. Bad plan. The women's groups were even beating you up. Well, you know why? Wait till the Susie Bootman shit hits the fan. Whoa, you guys are in serious trouble. None of it? I don't think Canada, they're going to be having none of it anymore. You know, they're done. We're done. No more studies. No more Vision 150s. No more fuckaroonies. You fucked up. And you were running garbage underneath. Which started it? Who's responsible? Okay. Now, I do want to go get into the Lillian stuff, but I'm not going to do that right now. I can't keep stressing the blueberry field enough. Blueberry field, big problem. People who should be remembering making the call Don't remember anybody telling them. Don't remember in an affidavit. Don't even remember seeing anything about Blueberry Field until when? Ah, that's right. The press conference. Oh, glad you could pull that one out of your ass. What a remarkable coincidence. War room dumb. Gray cells, less so. You fucked up. Okay. And I feel really badly for the good people that they lost along the way, because all of our communities are going to pay until these bozos are gone, and gone for good. Not gone provincially, gone federally, gone. Because they'll still be running their federal crap. Probably has something to do with what happened. I don't know what they sold their souls for. I have no idea. It's more than money. This kind of shit, it's just like digging up details on people and then using them against them. Can be that too. That's is absolutely 100% true. They do those fucking psychological shit, and they're always gathering data on people. Odit? One moment. Okay, so yeah, I'll do Blueberry Field and Lillian later. Sniper rifle, bodies, more bodies stuff throughout past episodes about five bodies. What was that? 2 inside a house. Very known very early on. 2 males. Huh? What? Where'd that come from? Using your own stuff. Nope, nobody looks for the answer on that one. 45? No. Just call it rough notes when it's your official notebook. Head of MCU or Chief Super. Gray. Ulmer. Nobody asks the questions, or rarely, very rarely. Before I get into, so we're now 2 hours in. Okay, I want to make note of that, because roughly, I'm going to start to go through what you have come across, what you have issues with. Preferably, unless it's the process, if you're talking about evidence, it should be evidence-based, based on documents that are. So if you can list the document or who said it so that it can be found, that would be great. One last thing on that note. So I've spoken about that before. I'm not bitching and griping. It isn't that. It is the glowy stink that has been operating in part. The glowy stink that has been floating around since the start, and there is a lot of it. And I don't even hardly understand how much. But I have spoken about how my channel has been cleaned. and the Discord, which is highly alarming. Now, Julie, please understand why this is important. Okay. I've shown this before. March 26th, 2021. 11 months. Almost 12. Almost a year. I was just doing the math for all of the time LGC has done live streams. Well over 400. Well over. I'll see if I can get the exact number because that's actually going to be important. Well over 400 hours of live streams. That would take about 18 days to watch nonstop. 24 hours a day. Over 50 days at 8 hours a day. 400 days at an hour a day. And I've only been doing it for 340 days. Why is that a problem? Just the streaming, not the research. The problem is because when I total up my channel, and there's stuff in there, I believe I've done the math correctly. I'm sure there's some things that are off, but I think I've even included a couple of things that might not be in here. 3 hours, 352 hours, 27 minutes. Why should that bother you? Bother you? Because it's like the documents going down. Anybody who's watched my channel knows, A, that I don't do videos that are short. I don't. I'm long-winded. There's a pile of videos on there that are edited. If you edit something on YouTube, if I edit something on YouTube, the live stream disappears. This is something on a much higher level. So if I say 3 hours, 352 hours, and I say 400, right? There'll be plus or minus in there some, but that's 48 hours, right? 48 hours, 2 days solid. How about 4-hour video? That's 12 videos gone. Somebody didn't want you to see a lot of information. A lot. Because they were worried about what we were uncovering. I'm not bitching because of the amount of time, though I will say that it kind of pisses me off. I'm pissed because of the amount of effort that people put in on your end, and you should be angry because they're silently muzzling you and pretending it's like those 4 pages. They don't exist. And what was it that they were scared of that they deleted? That's a lot of deleting. A lot. Like, my mind tries to wrap my head around that. That's 12% of my channel gone. And that's just in the first year. There's a lot of shit they're hiding from you. look at the funny games on the mass casualty website as a baseline. The documents that go up, the documents that go down, the ones that they say doesn't exist or don't exist, sorry. The ones that come back up the day before somebody comes and they cover up certain pieces of information like vent and body locations. And you should be very upset and very worried. And there was a lot that I was saying that's just gone. I don't believe, certain things, I don't have a memory of, like, that's a lot of time. And I was doing 16-hour days, pretty much, for, I don't even remember. So I've seen a lot of information over the years, and so I can't clearly recall, but there are pieces for sure I know that are missing, and it's provable. It's provable in the media. Literally provable. The release of the moratorium, which was sent to me by somebody, because it's intranet RCMP, right? Very important document. Of course, how much have these people spoken about that? The destruction of evidence. Nada. I think it's been raised once in a very brief segment that I can recall. I did a few live streams about that. It was written about it in the media. Little Grace Els has been talking about this for the past few days. Huh? What? There's nothing really there. Oof. John Robin card. They've happened to leave up that, which is indicative of how, yeah, that's right. Indicative of, and that one is an extraordinarily serious one. How much has that been discussed over here? They mention IMT to a small degree. April 28th, 2021 was an extraordinarily bad day for the RCMP. Really bad. If you haven't watched that video, I would watch that, because that's what you're looking at right now. The result that's still ongoing, the war room. High level corruption. If they left that, but deleted 2 solid days of information, what the fuck do you think they're hiding? Okay. They're certainly not deleting me lighting cigarettes. Where did what money go? talking well over 100 million for a dead man with a bullshit domestic violence cover story for the bootling substitute victim. You'll see. It all makes sense on that part. They just try and throw everything in, hope that, you know, we can get guns, we can cover our ass on bootling, we can do this, we can lie, maybe we can get a bunch more money, we can hire some of our family members, maybe, you know, everybody can get a little bit of the taste, invent some new titles, some new departments, get rid of the people who have questions in the force, destroy their lives. You know, it just keeps going on. But the problem is, it's not working. And they're pissing their pants. You can only fuck with people for so long. You're going to need the mental health stuff down the road. You're going to need it soon. In fact, I think some of you is already using it. Quit projecting. Okay, now, 2 hours, 17 minutes in. If I was smart, I would have set this all up in a different way. I would have said how long my streams were. At the end, I would have numbered every stream, but it was just too much work. I couldn't. Now, I want to hear your problems. I want to hear what you have come across, research-wise. Again, has to have some valid basis on documents. Please, because maybe that's what I should do. You guys can gather up what you have, and I'll do a stream. Maybe it's a fuck lot. It really is. I don't know how much over 400 hours that I had at that point. But you guys know how much information I dump. Like, I'm always, once in a while I'll go into philosophical stuff. But the F-150. And well, the F-150 was on 224. But, anything valuable shake out in the Brennan notes? I have not read them. So a little bit, that's about it. Where is Burl these days? No idea. I know things as an officer of the court, he would have had to start having some very serious doubts about some of the things that he was coming across and or saying. Ballistics report. Neither confirmed nor denied. D49. D49 takes a lot to unravel, though. Been watching for a few months. It wasn't until Bergerman testimony that IMT was not a common thing and was created specifically for 1890. IMT It's called all kinds of different names. IMT, H strong 2, people that were involved with that, Gray, Robin, Diamopoulos, Brandon, they all know that's the war room. That's the war room I was talking about. God knows when the first time I mentioned it was. Probably within the first few days of April 18th. War room was cover. This is cover. It's all cover. Up until then, IMT treated as this totally normal thing. O drives, Gmail accounts. There's an you see they leave some of the really big stuff out. So it's like other things. I know Lloyd was one that's gone. One of these days, people will have to remind me. Somebody did very kindly. They reminded me of some things that they remember that seem to have disappeared, because they were like, my comment seems to be missing. Like there were certain things that I was talking about and those aren't in the chat. I'm like I have control of that. I can barely unmute a microphone. Okay. O drives, S drives. That's a new one. Nice on the S drive. Tapes. Those hidden notes. There are notes. There's notes of the meeting. There's notes of the meeting. Not just the tapes. And, on the tapes one, as soon as the name came up, that was why I was like, oh, yeah, the tapes. I knew, because I knew before they even said tapes, I knew what they were going to go with. And so they said that the tapes had been deleted. Well, that's interesting, because actually, as I recall, Laurie Ward wrote a letter to Thomas Cromwell, who has Justice Cromwell just been pushing unbelievably in the background DOJ to tell the truth about anything and turn over things involved with the Mass Casualty Commission at the very senior level. Justice Cromwell and Laurie Ward wrote him a letter. And they said that it was their understanding that he was no longer in possession of the device, not that it had been deleted. So now the story's changed. So did they happen to get possession of the device and then delete it? Dan Bryan, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to cut the stream off here. Please make some notes, jot some things down. This will have a big impact, so it's important. And you guys have done a lot of research over 2 years now. We're almost at 2.5 years. This is unbelievable. But there have been people that have been really diligently working. You guys know your stuff. And there's lots of stuff you guys know I don't know. But it may come in play here. So please make notes of what you have come across that has evidentiary support, not theories. We're using documents that are on the process. Yes, that's another thing. And obviously, you don't have to necessarily cite documents because there aren't. Well, I mean, notebooks and things like that are missing, and interviews, whatever else. But in terms of actual events that transpired on the 18th and 19th, please have evidentiary support, as in documents. That's the way I like to try and do things. And we'll regroup. And your stuff may have an impact. It may. Okay? You may have an impact. You already do. Trust me. Big time. But maybe a little bit more so. God bless you. We're going to make changes here. God bless the 23. And we'll help those members too.